Luka Doncic is not the same player you thought you knew. The casual grin, the easy step-back threes, the deceptive pace, sure, that's still there, but something else has arrived. Something nobody saw coming. Luka Doncic is ripped, and the rest of the NBA, whether they admit it or not, is terrified. For years, we've heard this story before. The summer body transformation tales that feel more like campfire myths than real change. Remember when we were told Ben Simmons would come back draining threes like Steph Curry? Or when Zion Williamson was supposedly slimmed down to the point where his knees would never feel the same pressure again? These stories surface every offseason, and more often than not, they're just that, stories, smoke without fire. And Luka's been a part of this cycle too. Every summer, whispers about skinny Luka pop up. Maybe a slightly slimmer face in a training camp photo, maybe a clip of him looking a step quicker in a pickup game. But when the season rolled around, the results were, well, the same Luka. A genius on the court, yes, but never the one who looked like he was built for endurance. But this time it's different. The story starts with defeat. One day after losing in the first round of the playoffs in just 5 games to Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves, Luka didn't sulk. He didn't go on vacation to Europe. He didn't post cryptic social media updates. Instead, he picked up his phone and texted his manager with a simple message: "We start training now. Not in 2 weeks, not after a mental reset. Now." What followed was a complete overhaul. Luka is on a brutal 2-a-day training schedule, 2 sessions, each 90 minutes long, agility work that makes even the trainers sweat, intense weightlifting sessions that target every inch of his frame, hours of shooting drills that go far beyond what's necessary for someone who can already score at will. And alongside all this, a diet transformation, gluten-free, low sugar, 250 grams of protein a day. This isn't just about dropping a few pounds. This is about reshaping what Luka Doncic is, both physically and mentally. The transformation has been so remarkable that Luka's not just being talked about by fans or insiders, he's literally on the cover of Men's Health. Think about that for a second. Luka Doncic, who once wore the label of crafty but out of shape, is now being showcased as a model of fitness. And that's not a PR stunt, that's reality. This isn't the same Luka Doncic who Nico Harrison once criticized when the Mavericks traded him away, almost mocking his conditioning. That version of Luka is gone. What's left is a player who looks like he's been carved out of stone, a man who has decided that being great is not enough. He's coming for something bigger, something scarier, because let's face it, Luka Doncic has already accomplished things most players could only dream of. At just 20 years old, he was averaging close to a 29-point triple-double. He's been named first-team All-NBA 5 times in his first 6 seasons. Do you know how rare that is? In the post-merger era, only Larry Bird and Tim Duncan have surpassed that pace, both doing it 6 times in their first 6 years, and both were older than Luka when they entered the league. Think about the names we compare Luka to. Michael Jordan made first-team All-NBA 4 times in his first 6 years. Kevin Durant, 4 times. LeBron James, just 3 in that same span. Luka Doncic, for all the talk about his conditioning, is already on a trajectory that puts him in that legendary company. So imagine what happens when a player like Luka, who has been succeeding despite his bad habits, suddenly decides those bad habits aren't acceptable anymore. Imagine what happens when one of the most skilled offensive players we've ever seen adds explosiveness, endurance, and durability to the mix. That's not just evolution, that's revolution. But let's not sugarcoat it. For years, Luka was complacent. When you're averaging 30 points per game and dragging your team to playoff contention every year, why would you think anything's wrong? Sure, he was eating too much. Sure, he wasn't in peak shape. But he was still putting up numbers that other stars could only dream about. There was no incentive to change, until now. What changed? Pain. The 2024 NBA Finals were a wake-up call. Luka played through injuries, knee braces, constant pain, fatigue, and still managed to drop nearly 30 points a night against the Celtics team that outmatched his Mavericks in every way. He gave everything he had, but even he knew it wasn't enough. Then came 2025, where he only played 50 games due to lingering issues, making him ineligible for any major awards. And as if that wasn't enough, the Mavericks, his team, traded him. Nico Harrison didn't just trade Luka, he fat-shamed him in the process, implying that Doncic wasn't committed enough to his body or his craft. Imagine hearing that after carrying a franchise on your back. For Luka, it was a slap in the face, but it was also the spark he needed. Because something inside Luka Doncic woke up. Something about betrayal changes a man. It burns away the ego, the illusions, the excuses. When the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic, they didn't just ship out their franchise player, they told him in plain language that his greatness wasn't enough. Not because he couldn't score, not because he couldn't pass, but because they didn't believe he'd ever take his body seriously. And Luka heard them. Now, he's answering. Luka's physical transformation is the headline, but his mental transformation should keep the league up at night. We've seen this story before, just not with Luka. We saw it with LeBron James in 2011. Back then, LeBron had just lost the NBA Finals to Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks. He didn't just lose, he crumbled, scored less than Jason Terry, vanished when it mattered most. The criticism was relentless. He doesn't have that killer instinct. He'll never be MJ. He's not clutch. That version of LeBron, gone. What came after was the most terrifying version of LeBron James the league had ever seen. Stronger, sharper, obsessed. That 2011 Finals loss didn't break LeBron. It rebuilt him. And that's exactly what's happening with Luka. Because Luka isn't 32 years old trying to extend his prime. He's 26, about to enter it. This transformation isn't about preservation. It's about domination. Let's talk facts. Luka Doncic has already been historic. In just 55 playoff games, he's averaged 30.9 points, 9.2 rebounds, 7.8 assists, and 1.6 steals. The only other player with anything close to that across their first 50-plus playoff games, Michael Jordan. Luka's efficiency, versatility, and usage are absurd. He's one of the few players in history whose playoff stats are better than his regular season. So what happens now when that same Luka, already elite, becomes durable? The answer is Marcus Smart. Because Luka isn't just training, he's recruiting, he's building. After arriving in LA, he reached out to Marcus Smart personally. Smart, a former Defensive Player of the Year, is 31 and still one of the peskiest defenders in the league. When Marcus got the call, he didn't hesitate. When you get a guy like Luka calling, checking on you, seeing where you're at, trying to build something, that's a different Luka. That's not the solo artist we once knew. That's a general building his army. The Lakers saw what Luka did with Dallas and gave him something he never truly had. Help, real help. Austin Reeves, who has turned into a lethal scorer and secondary creator, DeAndre Ayton, finally free from Phoenix drama. Now Marcus Smart, adding defense and fire that can stabilize late-game situations. And even with all that support, the team's ceiling still comes down to one thing: how great Luka can be. And for the first time in his career, it looks like Luka wants that responsibility. No shortcuts, no excuses, not relying on natural talent alone. Because Luka understands now what LeBron once learned in Miami. If you're going to sit at the same table as Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, and Magic, talent gets you in the door, but obsession keeps you there. And Luka's obsessed. He's modeling his new work ethic after Kobe Bryant, citing Kobe's legendary focus, his sacrifice, his willingness to suffer for greatness. You can see it in Luka's eyes now. There's no more "I'll figure it out eventually." There's only now. He's not just lifting weights, he's cutting out gluten, sugar, junk food, replacing it with protein-heavy meals, early wake-ups, twice-a-day practices. And when asked about it, Luka didn't give some vague motivational quote. He said something far more revealing. "If I stop now, it was all for nothing." That's not hunger, that's conviction. Here's the part where most stories fizzle out. The off-season hype phase. The media cycle moves on, and fans get distracted, and the headlines about body transformations fade into meme territory. But not this time, because Luka Doncic isn't just talking, he's playing.